February 26, 2025. At this time, please stand for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Please join the board with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So this morning we have a work session with possible action on property discussion, personnel, budget. Some of these things we will need to go in and hopefully have short discussions on in executive session. But at this time, property discussion, first one.
Well, the first one is we've kind of talked about this off and on. And I mentioned at the last board meeting that I was approached by a gentleman at the Good News Conference at the convention center about what the board's plans were for some of our properties that'll be abandoned at a certain point. Now, I know there's some legislative action out there. There's a lot of stuff out in the legislature right now, which some of it may come to fruition and probably most of it won't. But we're going to have two particular pieces of property when we complete the pre-K 8 Summersville Academic Complex that we need to start thinking about and making decisions on, because all these things, we're looking at a little over 2 years possibly having that complex finished. And we've got the hangar at that site. We've got Glade Creek Elementary School, and we've got Summersville Elementary School that we're going to have to make some decisions on. Now, I realize the board does not have to make any decisions on any of that stuff. They can just sit on that property and not do anything with it, or they can make plans to do something with it, whether it's to sell it, auction it, give it away, whatever the options we may have legally to do. But I just wanted to kind of open that up for discussion among the board members as to what their thoughts are. And we can just let's start with the hangar and the building and I know Mr. Prime made a little comment about it at the last board meeting about what possible things we can consider using that property for and what we actually want to do with it.
Well, I know I had some thoughts on that house, and maybe this is crazy, but there's different. It could be like a maintenance type place, head office, headquarters. You could take it and make it a superintendent's quarters, because the housing's so hard to find. Also, I don't know if anybody'd be interested, but you could also use it as a daycare facility for all your staff at that location. And you think about it, you're going to have K-8. A lot of those teachers have kids, and it could be used for something like that. But that's just some ideas I had.
So you recommend we hang on to it, the house at least, right?
Oh, yeah, it's on our property. I don't think we'd want
You
to.
already own it.
Yeah, I don't think.
I mean, you don't want to dismantle or.
I don't think so. Now I wouldn't dismantle it. I mean, if it was falling down, it'd be different. I think we should make it into something.
It's in pretty good shape then.
Chris?
The original plan for that site was for it to be used as a daycare in conjunction with the Career Center as their early childhood development program.
I didn't know that.
That was the original, when there was supposed to be a high school there, which it would be unfeasible still. But that was the original plan for that site, was to be a daycare so that the Career Center students could use it for early childhood development stuff.
And even if the Career Center wasn't involved, you might be able to, I know legally we'd have to look into it, but somebody could open up a daycare there, maybe lease the building to them at a reasonable price, but it would give your employees, they'd be right there. It'd be so.
You don't know the house or the hangar or both?
The house.
I think the hangar could be used for storage.
There was a talk about renting it to Skanska one of them. I don't know if you remember that discussion, but there was some issue with us renting that to somebody. that we wasn't allowed to rent it and make money or something.
Well, we're not supposed to be doing anything, like for a profit, like as a business, but I know we rented things to other,
Okay,
like the Felton Shelter, we had rented.
for sure.
So, yeah, I'm not, if it's not like for another government or a nonprofit, I'm not sure about renting that out if we're really allowed to do that. We'd have to look into it.
Well, no, Chris, I think you mentioned, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but about using it for a transportation department and housing, stationing the buses there. So that's what you're talking about doing it? That'd have to be some land work done to do that, wouldn't it?
Not a lot. You would just have to make a parking lot. It's pretty flat. That ground's
Have to
pretty,
get up there.
yeah.
Yeah, the backup's
Yeah,
pretty flat.
when they get that top road in, it's gonna be pretty flat and maybe just a small downslope from the secondary road.
Well, we talked about the fact that, that the town is going to be doing something with very near the high school with their visitor center and all that kind of stuff. And it would be probably really helpful to them if we got our bus garage out of that area, cleared that up.
It would, and, especially in the summer and stuff, there's just not enough parking at the high school. And so that could be a parking area as well for them.
Well, and that K-8 school's gonna, it's gonna be about a third of our student population, correct?
Yeah,
Roughly. So,
1,500, it'd be 1,300 kids.
ideally, it'd be nice to have everything right, in one location, maintenance and, but
I just didn't know if there's enough space up there at the hangar in that house to do that or not.
Yeah, there's enough property for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's very open behind there. If you look behind there, all that can be used.
Yeah, that's pretty centrally located
Yeah,
for our county too, as far as having all the buses in that one location.
right.
And since we already own the property and Chris said we really shouldn't lease it to anybody, so, I mean, it seems like a pretty reasonable thing to consider.
Yeah, we don't have a very good place for maintenance. The bottom of Reese is not, it's hard to get stuff in there, hard to get stuff out. Like I said last time, it's hard to get trucks on this hill. It really is, especially in the winter. So that would improve food deliveries and stuff too. I imagine it would make sense to move that, even if we just moved our cooler up there, to move that up there.
Well, isn't that where most start, the earliest time in the evening at the K through 8?
Yeah.
So we'd have
Yeah. So
And
they would be leaving Summersville Elementary first.
Yeah. If they were up there,
Yeah, that whole busting thing is still gonna be figured out. It's gonna be a lot different because of the high school. Right now, the high school and middle school release is kind of 10 minutes apart and they get there. So to get that figured out, it's gonna take a little bit of doings, but yeah.
And that's the whole thing. I mean, we're saying 2 years down the road, but I'm telling you, time's gonna fly
And
fast.
that needs to be worked on now. The
Well,
schedule of the
Were you talking about, though, what kind of investment are we talking about to build a busing maintenance? I know you got buildings up there, but
No,
you're gonna have to have a bus to drive through and
yeah,
I mean,
so
will FEMA money be allowed for that? Should be. It's
I
on the
believe,
project,
yes, it
right?
would be allowed.
Yeah.
And, it just depends on how big the building
So we
is.
probably need to, I think Terrence right, you probably need to start if
We need to get some.
that's what we think we're gonna do, you probably need to have the architects give us a plan of how that would look and what it would cost while we're making the decisions on the fields and everything
Right.
else.
yeah, and the worst part about it is do they have to do all those studies?
No. So
Because that's
Sorry,
no,
y'all.
No, because it's all in that
Okay,
contained
Don't do anything like that.
area of disturbance,
right.
line of disturbance, it's all
So
inside.
it's in the line of disturbance.
That makes it nice.
It comes all the way out to the road and then it goes halfway up. If you look where our camera is, it goes up and it goes all the way to the fence and then comes down and then it kind of dips down a little bit below the graveyard. And then it goes right and all the way back up. So I think all that is within the area that we've already had done.
that graveyard, is it on our property?
That our property surrounds, but we do not own the graveyard. And there's a right of way to the graveyard.
That's what I was gonna ask you.
It's in the
Yeah.
middle of
So-
the property.
So the right of way to that, where is the right of
The
way?
right of way is right beside the Raider house. It goes right up, straight up the fence. And you know where the secondary entrance is?
They're right beside the road that goes in there.
You know, the secondary entrance is
Mhm.
going to be, that is the right of way there. So they'll basically use our road for an extent, and then they just have a right of way up the hill straight to it.
I got you.
Well, if the board decides that's what they want to do, then after we move the stuff out of those buildings from the elementary school, from Cherry River and all this other stuff, then we could start, moving some stuff out of that old Risa building up in there and getting it organized.
Yes.
So, I mean, because again, with limited people we have to do these kind of things, we have to just pick and choose when we can do some of those things.
What we decided when we
Can't
figured
do it all
out,
at once.
waiting on an answer, I'm pretty sure, from our call the other day about the furniture for Cherry River.
Right.
I mean, if ZMM comes back and says we're getting all new furniture for Cherry River, that's all that's in the hangar and that stuff right now is furniture for that school. We could start,
Do an auction there, sell that stuff out of there,
yeah.
and then people come get it instead of us having to move it somewhere else to sell it. I
Yes.
mean, just do it there.
Would you not plan on keeping any of that furniture?
I mean, we can see what's going to be provided and what's not.
Well,
We could pick and choose, I think, because we got,
We should still keep some of the stuff.
oh, I agree.
I know when we need.
Well, especially if it's in good shape.
Yeah.
If it's,
Yeah, if it's
So
still.
I'm just saying, we have three buildings that are completely full of furniture up there. So if you go to the new building that we built where the landing pad was, then the hangar, you can't walk through there because it's just tables and desks and.
Well, for example, like teacher desks. All right, let's just say for argument's sake that FEMA says, yes, you can buy a new teacher desk. But that's not going to be desks for all the aides that you got, because you see these in these classrooms all the time. There's 3 or 4 or 2 or 3 teachers' desks in one classroom. They're not going to give you 2 or 3 in every classroom.
Yeah.
They may give you 1, but they're not going to give you 2 or 3. Pardon?
They should have desks.
The aides? Oh, they got them. They're everywhere.
But I'm saying student desks and stuff is
Yeah.
everywhere. If they're saying we're getting new student desks, that's some things that we
Right.
can clear out. I mean, because right now we are packed to the gills everywhere. Every building we have is just stuff plumb full of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jason Means hopefully will get back to us. He was gonna check with FEMA to make sure,
Right.
because we don't, I mean, even if ZMM says, yeah, we think that you should
Sure.
give it to furniture, yeah, they're gonna check,
well, and they,
so that we're not guessing.
Kind of let us believe.
and they kind of told us that. They led us to believe that. And then,
Well, they said yes. Actually, I contacted Carly and I've got the text saying, yes, they're getting new stuff.
But then when we've talked to SBA and EMD, they say, let's be sure.
You're right.
I mean, we can go ahead and get that stuff and we can go ahead and ask for reimbursement and they can even reimburse us. But then later on down the line, when FEMA comes in to audit the whole project, when we're all done, years later, they can say, well, that wasn't allowed, that wasn't allowed, you owe us this much money.
Right.
So we definitely don't want that.
Yeah, we were told about that back right after the flood.
if FEMA's still around,
Yeah, be careful how you spend that.
Give Trump another 2 weeks and won't be any.
I got a laugh out of Ray on that one.
But I don't know the proper,
Yeah.
I don't know the proper order and protocol and stuff, but I think you should have the architects give us a plan. I think that's your next step.
Oh, I agree with you. On the
And then-
bus garage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lay that out, see how it look and in other words, thinking that's what we're going to do, but the first thing you got to do is
So we have,
go ahead and initiate that. But again, I don't know how you do that. We don't do it here or do it at the board or put it on the agenda, but I would be in favor of that. I think you need to do that. I think it's a good plan.
It doesn't have to be something elaborate, just a general idea.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't have to, the actual buildings and
Right.
put out for bid yet, but a layout, an architect's rendition of what it would look like and how you would use those existing buildings in it and stuff, yeah.
I agree with
I think that would be a smart,
Surely FEMA will okay the furnishings, won't they? I mean, there won't be any doubt about that.
well, it's the Cherry River.
They,
They will approve Richwood Middle School and they will approve Richwood High School because they were affected by the flood. The question becomes, does Cherry River Elementary get new furniture? And they've been told they will, but they're not sure, and that's what they're trying to check because they weren't affected by the flood.
Well, here's the thing. If that's not the case, then when you finish your pre-K 8 complex, they're going to furnish for Somersville Middle School because they lost their school, but they're going to serve Somersville Elementary at Lake Creek. Of course they are. They're not going to put old stuff in there. I don't think they're going to do that.
Right.
I think it'll be the same. And I have.
Yeah, I do too.
All those things and also about the playground. I mean, same kind of deal
And-
for Somersville Elementary. So
Mhm.
we'll see. Hopefully we'll get an answer about that soon.
And we were told last time how much those furnishings are approximately going to cost.
Mhm.
I'm not going to say, I don't remember if that was an executive session or
I don't
the
remember.
bids may go out, so I don't want to say the amount,
Right.
but it was big.
Yeah.
Am I thinking wrong, but weren't we told that playgrounds weren't covered?
We was told in the beginning that there would be no playground. That's why
They're not
we
covered.
keep all the equipment sitting by the Skanska trailer.
Yeah.
The Cherry Rivers, because.
That's my understanding too, that playgrounds are not.
And it's like anything that's at Summersville Elementary that's usable, like move it. And we know our maintenance guys will have to do that. And I know it's gonna take time. But at the same time, they'll probably have to start pulling a little bit of it and somebody will have to design it and same way with Glade Creek, probably use some of that equipment. I haven't looked at either one.
And I'll say that from past experience, that's a time consuming and tedious process because that playground equipment gets inspected when it's done. And if it's not done right, it's hard to.
To the inch.
Yeah, it to the inch.
Yeah.
Like, and it's hard to get back right after it's pulled out. So that's a time consuming process. You can't just go take it back and pull that stuff out.
I know they just had an agreement for the playground equipment at Richwood City Park. And that company was going to do it for $30,000. And they said, when I asked them, I said, well, do you think that would be adequate for a grade school? Is there enough room and would it be appropriate? And they said, yeah. So we're probably looking at $50,000. It looks like.
I saw one slide at Mount Lookout go for $15,000.
Well,
I mean,
we need to get the name of the company that they
yeah.
talked to
That's-
for the park.
Okay, as far as the hangar in the building, does the board want us to put on an agenda item to request that the ZMM does a study, or is that something y'all just want us to do outside of a regular agenda item? But we can have, Kelly can call Dave and see if he can check that out and give us an idea, or do you want it on the agenda to act on?
I don't think my opinion, I don't think we need to act on it until like we get an idea of what it's about.
Yeah, that's what I don't know. That's the reason I was asking protocol. I think it needs to be done. You all can
I agree.
decide how the protocol works. I'm not.
I agree with that, but I do think that when the board does decide what they want to do with that building and property, that we actually put that in a vote item so that, because 10 years from now, none of us are going to be here and they're going to say, how they decided that it's going to do that. You make that, and we'll have a record of it.
Yeah, and
I agree with you there.
With the architects, but they do earn their money if you get into the big scheme of things. I'd have them not only study that, I would study the conversion of the existing bus garage to whatever you think you're going to use it for, whether it's going to be parking or it's going to be an indoor weight room and all that stuff you did. It wouldn't take them a lot, but I think they should do both. And how it interacts with the.
Well, that's a really good point. If we do move that bus garage out and move it up on the hill, then what's we use that building for? That's the next property thing.
And I'd have that in the same study. I know Chris has had some ideas, but
What kind of shape
the
that building
architect
in?
come back with a recommendation.
The building itself's all right.
The bus garage?
It's a bus garage because it's just a shell. You know what I mean? It's just a metal building. So I'll use,
But I know that Chris and him had talked originally, there was some movement to maybe even, you could take old AstroTurf or even new AstroTurf and put it in there. And you could do like your indoor sports like softball, baseball, even weightlifting and stuff like that. You were thinking for Nicholas County High School using it as a facilities building.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying yay or nay, I'm just saying as part of that,
We need to look at
I
it.
would look at what you're doing with the new bus garage, and what you're going to do with the old bus garage at the same time.
Should we ask them what they would charge us to do that study for us before we?
Well, I mean, a couple things. They're already familiar with everything that we're doing. So if you wanted to bring somebody else in, I would think that it would be more and if eventually it's going to be funded under FEMA, then that's maybe something that could already be reimbursed.
Yeah, I'd almost tell them, look, we don't want the full set of plans. Hopefully y'all will buy for this, but we'd like a your all's thoughts on what we're thinking and doing, how that would work and how that would lay out. I mean,
Well-
that's,
What a free consultation.
yeah, really. Well, really, I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking for.
We need an idea of what it's gonna cost us, but don't do a full figure and put in outlets and electrical and heat and all that.
Give us,
I'm sure they have a.
give us a budget allowance.
Square
Right,
footage
yeah.
for a bus.
Give us a budget
Exactly.
allowance.
That's what we
Just the
need.
Cost per square foot of. bus.
Just so we can make a decision
And they-
whether that makes sense or not.
They may,
I mean, a metal building, 100 by 200 probably would be, that's too much, but that building is like 300,000-400,000 just for the building. So a rough guess for 100% completed done, I think you would probably get it done for $1 million. That's just off the top of my head. You're gonna have,
So you'll have two buildings, if you put it up there, you'll have those two buildings to take down
you don't have any buildings to take down.
at Lake Creek.
You'd leave those up there for something. That's why I want to see what the architects would use them
So
for.
another building on
You
that.
have to just add a bus garage up. there to
Yeah.
have a-
Do we have
big enough to do
Drive.
the work across the buses and that would be
Room
pull
to
through.
park your buses with another building.
Yeah, pull through buses.
Yeah, there's still enough room. There is I mean, the whole site's sitting on 48.
Probably 2 or 3 acres up there, isn't there?
Oh, you have more than 2, 3.
That flat,
Probably got.
think one. But they put a pond over there in, to the side,
That's over beside the
drops off in the pond
the
there.
parking lot.
retention pond.
Okay, transitioning to the next building. Let's talk about Glade Creek. What are the thoughts about Glade Creek? Now, I don't have a preference. I do have a couple of things that I'm going to throw out to you to think about. But I do know that in the history of, in most counties, Nicholas County is the one I can relate to the most, is that these buildings a lot of times have been, for lack of a better term, it's probably not the right term, but donated to the communities to them to use them as fire stations or community buildings or whatever. We see numerous places throughout our county that use them for that purpose. But, you know, the one thing I'm going to throw out again, two things. Well, Chip actually mentioned it in his talk about the hangar. I always thought, and it may be not a great idea, but I always thought the daycare center for our employees would be a great thing to be able to offer. And Glade Creek School's got a lot of rooms in it, which would really handle a lot of students. Because parents, you know, our teachers have a real hard time with daycare. Believe me, I hear it all the time. And that might be something to consider. But the other thing I'm thinking about is something that I talked to the Pocahontas County Board about this years ago when they thought I was nuts, and they were probably right. But you're seeing it in the news more and more every day, is about this ALC stuff for elementary kids and a place to put them. I watched the legislature today, last night, and Amy Grady was on there, and she was talking about it, and there was Joe, some guy from Mercer County. He was a delegate from Mercer County. Anyway, and they were talking about, well, if these kids get, if the teachers get the authority to remove each child, which they have that right now, a lot of people don't know that, but they do have a right to move a child from their classroom for a period right now. But if they choose to move a child out of their classroom because they're just too detrimental to education, well, there wouldn't be any financial cost to the state for that, because the counties would just have to figure that out. Okay, so figuring that out means you stick them in the corner in the principal's office or the counselor's, and you got 10 kids in there and nobody watching.
Yeah.
That's the way they kind of look at us handling that. But, you know, we have the ALC issue right now. We're putting them here in our, you all saw them last night up and down the hallways, or 2 days ago. No room to put them all. We have more and more elementary kids that need to be removed from classrooms. We had that discussion the other day about some kids. We've got some litigation going on in our county right now involving those kind of things. So that building is again, centrally located building. That might be something to really consider to use for ALC building for elementary, middle, and high, for all of our kids. And we'd have to staff it, but it's a great location. It's easy in and out of, and it's very centrally located for most of our kids. And I know we tried to do it there this year and we had some issues with that, but that's because we were using it as a regular school at the same time too. This would be totally an ALC school for our county. There's, I think it's 13 or 14 counties right now that have an ALC program. I don't know if they include us that or not, because we do have one. It's just after school. But this will be during the day. This has to be during the day. We would have to provide transportation for those kids. So that's the thing. That's the two things I thought about: daycare and an ALC.
Why not keep it at the end of the day so we don't have to provide transportation?
Well, if you have it after school, you wouldn't have to provide transportation.
Right.
If you have it during the day, you would. But if you have the elementary kids, 2 hours, 4 days a week, those kids not gonna learn how to read 2 hours, 4 days a week.
Well,
I understand.
I don't-
chances are they're not gonna learn anyway if they're that bad. I mean, I hate to say that, but.
Oh, we would have that option, but that building would serve that purpose.
I want to back up.
That building is going, I'm just praying for 2 more years out of that building.
Especially off the roof.
The roof, the heating system in it, I mean, almost every day, Rusty is out there multiple times resetting the heat. And that boiler room has flooded.
Mhm.
It's, they've sump pumped water out of it.
Mhm.
I mean,
Well, and to back up, the first thing we should do is check that deed on that property and see how the board acquired that property and see if
It reverts
when,
back to somebody
if
else.
it reverts back to somebody before we ever,
I think I looked earlier.
oh yeah, have you already looked at it?
He does not.
I think it's out.
Some of them.
And Summersville did not have a reversion.
Okay, so you already checked that out.
Through the closure documents,
Right.
I had to review those buildings.
Well, my,
The 4 that I reviewed had a reversion clause in it.
I'm, our county, the whole state shrinking, population, losing all these kids to homeschool. That's just gonna be another building for us to maintain,
Sure.
even if it's for ALC.
What about,
And we're gonna have to keep, a roof on it, keep the heat on, all that. My opinion is, we don't need to keep it. That's
Or-
my opinion.
what about this science building right here beside us? If you take the maintenance out of it, what are you gonna use it for?
We can't have no storage. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah,
It's just mostly storage. It wouldn't be suitable for the ALC.
well, I mean, we did have the ALC.
Right.
Costs us a fortune.
And that was another, that ran us,
Just the heating and cooling.
well, and all the staff that we had over there, that cost around $400,000 a year.
But you're gonna have the same,
Well, it'll still be.
you're gonna have the same thing at Glade Creek
Yeah.
and have another
I
facility
was just
that's
thinking, which would be the most
cost
appropriate.
efficient.
Yeah.
Let me, I'm gonna think outside the box. This is a work session, right? And we're just.
Absolutely.
We're in just discussion or
Absolutely.
whatever. And I guess somewhere along the line, we've got to further talk about the annexation of the city going out and annexing our new school so that we can have a pro officer or a pro officer. It may be worthy to discuss with the city, and so I can't speak for city, but maybe talk to them about, if you're going to annex out that far, could you annex that Glade Creek School? And also talk to them about the Summersville Elementary School and the Glade Creek School working out, you could even lease it back, just kind of like we do the city gym. But maybe trading some value there. Again, I'm just talking out loud of the sporting complex and their investment in the turf and stuff. So basically what I'm saying is, could you negotiate putting that price tag on those buildings by giving them those buildings in exchange for getting the turf and using your soccer complex up there? Then they would take care of the buildings, property. Of course, I think they want the Summersville Elementary property. I don't know that. At one time they did because it's inside the city. They want a city kind of park in there. I know they're building a big athletic park, but stuff. But obviously the city may not want to do it. They have to make their own decisions and stuff, but the city probably has the money to maintain those. if you did want to lease it back for an AL center or whatever, you just put that in kind of your deed or whatever, some kind of first right of refusal or something. It may be worth a discussion with the city. They may not be interested at all, but it may be a way to it may be a way to talk about that.
So basically what you're saying is, you know, they're wanting us to donate to
Right.
their city park.
Right,
And so, you know, we're strained for money.
right.
And
you're going
But
to
we
give those
could-
properties away eventually.
you could kind of, yeah, and
Could you
we
make
could
it
kind of trade the
deal.
property for the,
for the investment?
and I think that's a good idea.
Well, I think it deserves a discussion with them.
I do too.
And you wouldn't have to include the Glade Creek property if you got another idea on that, but if you did, since they're annexing anyway, they could probably draw the line because it's going to be contiguous with the road. Right up there at the park.
Be three.
Yeah, they'd have to go just a little bit further, right? Because Glade comes back. You enter the park before you enter Glade, going down.
Yeah, but aren't they gonna take that 3-lane up to the grade school?
Well, I don't know. They're supposed to definitely 3-lane it, and I don't know how far.
It ends right there close.
But they could even annex a little bit further to grab that property if they wanted. They may not want that property, but what I was thinking, since the school's out there, they may even want like a little sub fire department out there, or maybe move their police bar. I mean, they may have a use, they may not have a use. But even without the Glade Creek property, I would definitely look at that Summersville Elementary property because it's inside the city and they may have a use for it, and they've already got your gymnasium.
In previous
And you
discussion,
may be able to put a price tag on it and trade it and save us the money and not do that turf.
they may
But
change-
they would still give us,
Oh, you still have the first right. It was the
Field.
investment, just like you invested the right of check
Right.
for, you just giving them property for it.
that's a brilliant idea
Well, I think it's worth the discussion. I mean, just.
because
If changed, but in previous discussion with the city, they said they had no interest in Summersville Elementary.
Well, I had discussions with them and
Well,
they did.
I mean.
Now, they may not the building itself, but they definitely want that lower field.
Yes, but the building.
Property there.
I don't believe that.
but
And then they may have changed. I'm just saying in previous.
Well, they probably don't. You may have to put it out a bid or whatever, but I think it's worth a discussion.
that's one of those deals where you don't just give the field away, the prize.
No, you just, the whole
It's gonna
property.
be one package. It's all or nothing.
Well, if they don't have use for it, then they have the option of selling it.
Yeah, I think what I was told was that they would like to see, we have a housing shortage, that a developer come in there and develop where the grade school is, tear it down for housing. They'd like to lower field for a park, like a walk park or whatever, because they don't have one right inside the city. But you're right, they could take that and then turn around and sell it to a developer or whatever. I don't know the rules and all that. It's worth a discussion.
It absolutely.
Yeah.
And they may not have any interest in it, but it may be a way that we can, and because I do think that soccer, long-term, that soccer is a good deal. Now, you may not have money to do it, but not having to do the maintenance and replace the turf and that, to me, that's a pretty good deal.
I think them naming it for the high school
yeah.
and maintaining it, I think that's a huge idea. Right now, though, with us getting ready to cut people, bus drivers, teachers, aides, I think we're all going to catch a lot of grief if we take money out of our budget to put towards that. That's why I said the idea that you just suggested.
Yeah.
That wouldn't take money out of our
Yeah,
coffers.
and I hear what you're saying about, I get that politically and the people and stuff, but you're going to spend, I know it's coming from the FEMA funds, but you're going to spend $1 million to put a soccer field up there middle, have to replace it in 10 years for another $500,000. And you can make $500,000 investment over here
I know.
and not have to do anything with it. I mean, I just having a hard time.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
But I do appreciate exactly what you're saying about a personnel. I understand that.
It's hard to,
I know, I
it's
totally.
hard when you cut personnel.
Yeah.
We cut last year and we're going to have to cut again this year. And then to turn around, even given Richwood, that 25 or 30,000 for that community center, I wasn't against that. I know how our
Yes,
budget
no,
is.
I totally agree.
And
No, I
we
get
need to
that.
save we really need to
Yeah.
watch or we're gonna be in a mess.
Yeah.
Right, Kristen?
But
So,
I think if we can get that deal done with trading some of the properties we have, which we don't really have plans for some of these things anyway, it makes a lot
For
of
the
sense.
cash, I think.
well,
I may
I,
not have any interest, but I think we ought to explore that.
I absolutely, think that once Summersville Elementary, once we get them moved,
Yeah.
we do not want to worry about taking care of that property,
can't
having to tear
regret
those
that.
buildings down, cutting all that grass.
Yeah, and the city, they're good stewards of their money. They may not have any interest. They may need the cash to do their field. They may not have any interest in that, but I knew at one time there was some interest in that property because it's right in the middle of the city and it's right down from where the thing is. I think we should ask the.
Yeah, you go tearing that old building down there, it's got asbestos in it, it's gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to get into that.
There's all kinds of need for nursing homes and things like that. My goodness.
At one time,
waiting
somebody
lists,
approached
there's
me about
waiting
that
lists to get
Summersville
on
Grade
the waiting
School
list.
about doing another drug rehab. I know we've got a bunch of them. And they asked me what we were going to do with it. No, it wasn't that. I'm sorry. It was a dance class and stuff. It was out to Mount Nebo. So I'm just saying that the private industry I know we know what the problems are, but they may come in there and have a use for that. We don't want to be in the business to have to negotiate that. If we can get the city to do that and give us a little, I think it's worth the conversation.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Okay,
part of that building
You
is,
set up a meeting with him.
okay, I will.
yeah, part of that building is relatively new and, the backside of it.
Wonder if he would, wonder if he'd had time to run over here.
He might.
I mean, while we're having this work session.
I found out. I just got out of a meeting with him. We were in a foundation meeting with the reason.
Any other property on our agenda?
Well, I'll reiterate. You know, I'm not saying there's not some good possibilities to do some things with, but with our maintenance on the new complexes we're building and then the existing buildings, I don't think we need to keep extra property that we have to maintain.
Right.
Like even the Glade Creek putting a roof on and, you know, maybe have to put a new boiler in. I don't think we want any part of that. I'm hoping that we baby them along enough to get through this.
Yeah, I remember that building, the original part of that building is from 1957, needs a boiler and it's got a 30-year-old metal roof on there.
And you know, when you drive by it, it looks like and it's not falling down, but still a lot of maintenance. And just keeping,
It's just got a septic tank as well.
and just keeping the grass cut at these places that we don't have students. I don't think we need that extra cost. Our maintenance guys are stretched now, keeping the grass cut. And when they start at Glade Creek,
Oh, surely the school can take care of that site. The school can take care of they have, I mean, right now, Summersville Middle School has a 240 custodian that's responsible for cutting all their grass. I know that's a lot more grass, but,
it'd be a full-time job.
yeah.
You know, we're not good stewards if we use money inappropriately. Like you say, we've got to save money. We've got to be within a budget and we're going to have to make some cuts. We don't want to be teachers. We've got a list of things prioritized that we want to attend to in order, right?
Yes.
So they have to take priority.
And when, you know, you get these requests for, you know, like from the
Yeah.
community center, which is a very good organization. But you start handing money out and then you turn around and say, well, we got to cut your job. You know, pretty,
Yeah.
Before we move-
$500,000 could pay for a lot of teachers.
Before we move on out of property and stuff, do we need to put on the agenda, and again, I'm just not really good on protocol, and having discussion, because I know there's been some internal discussion, but I don't know as far as the full board about pros and cons of annexation and moving forward with annexation? And did you have any questions about that, Mr. Moose or Mr. Berry?
On the Glade
on the
Creek.
Glade Creek Academic
I think.
Complex. The city is willing to annex it.
I think it's very important that we do that because, for our pro officer, if nothing else, for the pro officer. And of course, the city's already said they're not trying to get tax money off
Yeah, they
that.
said they would do a memorandum of
Right.
understanding that this project would not affect. So do we, I just don't know, again, the protocol. Do we need to put that on the agenda? And we have to designate somebody. I don't think, we've got to give them the maps of, they haven't got that yet. Gary Withy, the recorder's going to be the one from the city working on that. And then the mayor's already charged him to do that, but they haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have the maps.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell
I,
Chris that.
I think something else, and maybe if we can squeeze this in, maybe they won't do it, but, we're considering putting a bus garage there. Will they allow us to do that along with the construction's going on, or you think they're gonna charge us for that?
Yeah, it's a good question. He talked like we would still be subject to inspections or whatever, but he talked like if we say that's part of the overall FEMA project and we're going to use the FEMA money, it'd be a good time to raise that question. I don't know. I can't answer that, but I think it's a good time to raise that question. But I think we got to go through the formal steps of agreeing to the annexation. And I just want to make sure if Mr. Moose and him had any questions or whatever.
Well,
about
with the way the sheriff's department is, short staffed, it's gonna be hard for them to give us a pro officer. And the city of Summersville's done a wonderful job. Up to this point, they have. And, they're actually losing money on that when you consider their, I know we give them money, but when they pay the benefits and stuff, they're actually not.
Well, they're in better financial condition to provide that than the county,
Right.
basically. And we need one at the school.
Absolutely.
And so if you don't annex that, you're going to be getting it from the county. And we know the problems we've run into at Richwood.
Yeah. When the call comes up, they pull them out.
Yeah.
And I understand some of that, but
So I just didn't know how that worked, Chip. Do you need to put that on a future agenda or?
I think we probably should.
Okay,
If nothing else, just to record when we made this decision. I think we need to put it on the agenda to give permission to the city of Summersville to annex that property.
Yeah.
did you write that
Well,
down?
it sounds like a win-win as long
Like a
as
steel trap.
we aren't required to pay taxes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, future, we're not saying 10 years down the road, if you had a building project or something.
Oh, yeah, I
We're
understand.
talking about the initial.
And that's the way I
Project.
understood it too. That's
Yeah,
exactly the way I understood it. Yeah.
And they have the right, they can waive that if they want, like,
Yeah, even in
Like-
the future, you.
yeah, on the future, you'd say, hey, we're gonna put a press box in here for something or this for this, and could you waive this? They have the option to do that.
Sure.
Exactly.
The pro officer at Richwood, when that is in one facility, will we just need one pro officer there? Will that help?
Yes. Yes.
No, I
You'll
think-
have two entrances. Just saying, it's up to you guys.
Yeah, I think one.
Because if you're just going to have one at the pre-K through 8, that's 1,300 students. You only got 700 some pre-K through 12. So I would think they can handle it administratively.
Our levy, I think it just said, I don't think it numbers how many pro officers, it says how much money we have.
Exactly.
Right,
I'll look.
right.
And
One more-
didn't that change in 26? Doesn't it go up a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
For safety
All right.
increases. It doesn't necessarily specify that it has to be for pro officers. It just says it's.
Break that,
Safety.
that 700 down for me. I'm not seeing that number,
What's that now?
saying there's 700 at Richwood at the K through
You'll have
12.
140 in the
Cherry
grade
River.
school. Right now, your current number is 220 at the middle school and 299 at the high school.
That's over 700.
It's like
Yeah.
688 or
Yeah,
something.
and then a percentage of those won't even be in the building because they'll get the career center.
So 153 or something like that at Cherry Elementary.
Yeah, which is subject.
And there's 200 and some at the
For school.
middle school.
This is on second month. I have 155 at Cherry River. 231 at Richwood Middle. 322 at Richwood High School.
Right. I know we're at 299 right now at Richwood High School.
That's almost
At
700.
Richwood High School, we're at 299.
Mhm. I'll look up your live numbers right now. Just one second.
Also, someone called yesterday, from the Richwood Police Department, wanting to talk about pro officers. I think that they're gonna come to maybe our next meeting.
And, you know, as, I think that's but once again, you put a county of pro officer over there, nothing against the county, but they have a tendency
To run to other things.
to call them out and, you know, when we're kind of paying them, most of it, I think they need to be at the school full time. So Richwood would have to understand that that officer would need to be at that location.
Richwood High School's got 293 students right now.
Pardon me?
293 for Richwood High School. Richwood Middle School has 232. Cherry River has 152.
That's still close to 700.
Mhm.
That's
Did you think that was high or low, Mr. Moose?
I thought it was low.
Oh,
677. And then as far as building occupancy, at least a fourth or half of your high school kids will be at the Carson during the day.
Anything else on property? Did you hear from the mayor yet? Did he say?
No, he didn't answer, not texting to call me.
Okay.
I'm sure he will in meeting.
Okay. The only other thing I have, and it's kind of related to property in a way, is we have to make some decisions pretty soon on our school-based healthcare for our two new facilities on how we're going to do those. Now, my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Richwood High School and Richwood Middle School are right now under Camden. Is that correct? They take care of those. So, I mean, the natural progression of things would be for them just to move into that facility. But have we made any determinations about,
I don't know if it matters, but prior to the flood, they was taken care of by New River.
And I think Cherry River.
before the flood?
Cherry River has New River there, don't they?
No, Cherry.
Cherry River
They
has
only got
Camden.
Summersville Middle and the high school.
Nobody serviced Camden before the flood. Cherry River, nobody serviced them before the flood. And then whenever the middle school pods went over there, there was a clinic that went in there that was Camden. But at Richwood High School, Richwood Middle School, that was New River servicing them. But
Well, my understanding is with the Summersville Academic Complex, right now New River has the middle school and the high school, and Camden has the elementary school. So you're going to have that 2 years down the road to determine. But, you know, we talked about earlier in some discussions about having the health clinics take on some of the cost of this. Is that correct, Kristen?
Yes.
So, you know, we're getting close to getting into the Richwood site. We're going to make a decision at some point on what their skin in the game is going to be on this. If anything, I don't know.
So that's an area in that school for
Yes.
clinic.
Yes, there is.
What
So once,
dental clinic there at Richwood, at Beaver, we had a dental clinic in there.
Well, we had a meeting yesterday at Camden, and they announced that Dr. Lucky has decided that he would be there, he would come there and service as a dental officer 1 day a week. And then they may expand more, plus he's going to try to bring in interns and.
Yeah, I think they did have it open all the time, daily, didn't they, for a while?
Yeah, well, they have the mobile unit too.
Did Camden have that? They put that in, did they?
Yeah.
Camden, okay.
Can you put out I don't know, again, I work in the private industry and I know the government works differently. And obviously I want to do everything right, but can you put out an RFP, a request for proposal, and tell them this is the space and we're looking for what you would be willing to do to lease that space and run the clinic, and just put it out to the agencies and let them make a proposal?
I
And
think leasing the space would be better than having them to pay to build it, because then they're stuck there forever. They own part of it.
yeah, I would agree. And that way, if the lease runs out, then you can do somebody else. You should own. Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
and one thing, I know at Glade Creek, the way it's set up, it has an outside entrance. At Richwood, does it have?
Yeah.
Is it, I didn't remember.
Yeah.
So in other words, the general public could not just
Right.
access our school.
No. At Richwood, it's down, you know where the administrative office is for the grade school part?
Yes.
So the clinic is on the, as you're looking outside the school, but if you're looking at the parking lot, it's on the right-hand side at the corner,
Mhm.
right there.
So it has its own separate,
It has its own secure entrance, yes.
And you'd have to go from the clinic through the man trap or the administration, whatever, to get into the school, or you'd have to go back out and come back in.
Well, the students can come in the backside of the clinic,
Okay,
but the outside public has to come in
Yep.
from the outside. They don't go in the
Perfect.
school at all to go in.
good.
and once again, whether it's New River, Camden, whoever, our kids are supposed to be first.
They are. And typically those sites, like they operate, Golly River, it's not open when school's not in session. Panther Creek is not open when school's not in session. Nicholas County High School, that clinic there is not open when school's not in session.
Panther Creek, is it open during the summer though?
I think so.
Probably
I think
I
is.
so.
think some, but Kristen's, it's not consistent.
Okay.
So what process, Kristen, do we need to go through to follow his direction?
Advertise that we can even just put that on our website. We wouldn't even have to put it in the paper.
Okay,
Just let them know.
Yeah.
The people that we know would be interested.
Right.
Putting this out.
And I don't know that they'd be interested, but one time I talked to them about it, WVU Medicine might be. I don't think they make money on that, and I don't think they will, but it's another bidder or another person, and if
sure.
put it out there
Well,
and let them all know, and then Camden or New River or whoever wants.
It's your homework.
Okay.
well,
So that some,
So
they have
there's
a
a-
license.
Yeah, so they can out and.
that's exactly what I was going to
Mr.
ask.
Wilson maybe know more about this, but providers own addresses, and in the
Yes.
past, that's been an issue of who owns the address, and then other providers aren't allowed. So I don't know who owns that address or who's claimed it or who's allowed to provide services on those.
How do we find that out?
So in other words, you need to find out who owns the address because you can't put it out for,
Right. If that's even, I don't understand the whole.
I don't either.
It's an address thing. I don't.
Who can provide services from a certain address? I know that we had an issue with that before.
Well, you got to watch, there's a certificate of need process in West Virginia to keep people from just getting into other providers' area because I know you like competition, but they're afraid that will erode. So I don't know either. I can put you with some people and probably let you know that. I don't know.
Normally, when someone comes in like that, they are under the, whoever administers that at that time. Say Camden is taking care of that. If a dentist comes in, they are his boss. He doesn't have a private practice. And so that would be true of anybody that would have to come in. They couldn't have
Yeah, I would think that Camden and New River and SRM, the VMS and SRMC were all,
Well,
they've already are allowed to cover Nicholas
the
County.
reason that I found out about this is when Mr. Butcher was superintendent. Camden owned the addresses for Mount Nebo, Mount Lookout, and some of those other schools, but they wasn't providing any services. So he was giving them the option to either provide service or release that address to let another agency come in and serve those schools. So that's,
To me, just first time, to me, you put out the RFP and they have to address those issues.
okay.
They're the ones that have to decide whether they can provide the services or not. I don't think we really have to do that. I think they'll do that, Mr. Moody.
in other words, you put out a place and Camden that's their address. They know, well, we're the only ones that can do
Yeah.
this. So,
You still put it out.
New River's not going to,
Anything by doing that.
No.
Before we would sign anything, I could.
No, that they're legally able to provide those services, but I don't think we have to make that determination. Yeah.
We renew our agreements with these every year
right.
as it is. So
But once again, if they have that, if that area is assigned to them, get him in here, Steve.
That's all right. Hey, what are you doing right now? Oh, okay.
That's what you
Do
call.
you have time to come to our board work session? We like to discuss something with you. Okay. Perfect, thank
Do
you.
that in executive session.
Probably.
Russell.
We'll probably have that discussion in executive session.
Okay, that'd be good.
Let's,
Think that'd be better.
while we got time for a couple miscellaneous things, I don't have miscellaneous on the agenda, but I'd like to add that to there. Let's talk about our snow days real quick. I'd like to get the board's opinion on what they prefer as far as, and, you know, because I said this at the board meeting on Monday, and I'll just reiterate it again. We are going to be, turning in another waiver request, and I don't know where that'll go, but in the event that no waiver is approved, and we have to make up days. Right now, we're 3. We have to make up. Does the board want us to add those days through June, which would take us to about the fifth day of June, something like that, without touching spring break? Or do you want me to take the days off spring break? And if we do, at the first half or the second half of spring break? I kind of need to know what you all think, because I'm getting all kind of phone calls about it.
My opinion, always have one.
Well, that's why you're.
My opinion is that you put out a survey. Now, I know you're not gonna make everybody happy, but you let them vote. And I know we don't have long to do this, so you make this survey, you know, and you put it on Facebook and you say, hey, if you want your input, you know, and you get a vote once, and do you want it off spring break? Do you want it at the end of the year? Or do you want a combination? That would be their 3 choices.
Mhm.
What do you think?
Or the other choice be, do you prefer the first 2 days of spring break or that week after Easter, or the last 2 days? Like, you know what I'm saying? Extend a Good Friday through Monday and Tuesday, or have Good Friday, have a Friday off and then come for 2 or 3 days. And, you know, that choice, because a lot of people's their vacations may be set.
And I understand that. That's why I said you're not.
I've got a survey written up.
You've got some other people that have vacations set for the end of school that first
That's
week.
exactly right.
So
Right
regardless,
after Memorial Day, they're going.
and I know most of your teachers, maybe not all of them, but they're going to say, after testing, let's get them out of here as soon as we can, because I've been there. Anybody that's taught, it's not fun after testing.
So is there a majority of people that are calling you wanting one thing or?
There's
No,
one,
They're just wanting to know when we're gonna make up the days.
Yeah, they-
Or
We got vacation
spring
planned.
break or at the end.
and then
Spring break or at the end.
Yeah, you'll get both. I
Yeah.
mean, one person will say, I don't care about spring break,
Right.
go ahead and take it, but don't mess with the end. Another person will say, don't mess with the end of don't mess with. spring
well,
break."
and
So a survey would,
there's been people on Facebook and they say, well, I don't care. My kids aren't going during that. And my
Oh,
kids aren't going and you know, whatever, but
Well, it'd be a good idea to get a majority, because you're not gonna make everybody happy.
Well, if you really, I agree, because if it really is not material,
Maybe you can do that with the survey.
and let them have a say.
Yeah, because it's really, doesn't matter to me either way, but, because it's going, you know, it's just is what it is. But
I know we
But
have,
I also want to put in that survey that this is in the event that we do not get a waiver.
Right.
Now, I want them to know this is not a final decision, because if we get a
Right.
waiver, we may not have to make them up.
well, I think you, put that survey out now because, spring break's what, the week of,
April 13th or
April
something.
14th.
so, you know, we're
Got
gonna have to
enough.
make a decision pretty soon on
I
it.
know. And we were trying to, and I was dragging this out intentionally to see how many days we was going to have to work with. I didn't want to make a decision right away.
And this week, you know, next few days look all right.
Who normally responds to those survey, mainly teachers, or is it the general public?
General public more than teachers. Yeah.
Well, and you know,
I can get one out Monday. I can get one out Monday.
Yeah.
I'm not,
We have applied for a waiver, but in lieu, if we don't receive that waiver,
Which was your preference?
which is your preference?
I'll
That's a good idea.
I'll get that out Monday. We'll run it a week and see how it goes. And then next time we board meeting, you'll all be able to get some.
you know, there's people out there that have no skin in the game and hopefully they don't do the survey.
Well, they'll do the opinion, I promise. you.
It blows my mind. It's like, well, what's this, how's this affect you? Now, if it affects you, then give us
Yeah,
your
people
opinion. but-
Lobby that really want something.
I know,
Other people
I know.
Take the survey.
Yeah, I know.
but I'll take care of that.
I'll be anxious to see which they prefer. I'll be anxious to see what the survey showed.
And it may,
Good
this
to have.
may be a crazy idea. I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
I mean, it doesn't hurt to take input. The only thing happens if you take input, they're like, well, you don't listen to what we say anyways if we don't give them results.
Well,
We'll give them a
provide the information we get, just like we did with the calendar survey. You know, I went through everything that they asked me about. We had some changes to it.
The community likes to have input.
Yeah, and I agree, but I agree with what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
If you already kind of got your mind made up, don't put survey out. But if you really want what the survey says, then, you
Well,
know.
that's why I asked.
Well, and I know what you're saying because I used to be on the calendar committee when I was teaching, and I was on it for quite a few years. And I'd go back to the school and I'd say, these are the choices we came up with. And they'd say, they would make the comments, some of them. It doesn't matter what we say. They're going to do what they want. And which wasn't the case. We listened and we made decisions based on the majority. It might not agree with what you wanted, but you know.
Well, it was just like with the closures. They said we had heard that mine's made.
Right.
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
But that's the only other thing I wanted to talk about. The reason I asked that question is if you all, because I didn't know if you all were getting calls about the same thing I was getting calls about and what your preference was. But I'll do a survey. I'll get it out on Monday.
Can I ask a question while we're kind of waiting?
Well, sure.
On ALC, is there a possibility that you could just have, or maybe you used to do that, I think, just a classroom within an existing school for ALC at the high school and then maybe one at the middle school where you have the new school where you're going to have grade schools. So you're not paying for upkeep for a whole building and you're just paying for a teacher here.
Yeah, you just have to staff it if you did that, if you had the space for it.
Yeah, the only issue we had with that, of course, we had high school students in a grade school, is things left behind by the ALC kids.
Well, and if you suspend them but yet they're still going to the same building, it kind of needs to be in the evening, right?
But also, if it's in the evening, it's a couple of hours in the evening. It's not punishment. It's less school. I mean, they're not, they don't have to go to school at that point. They're not spending 8 hours in a school building. They're hanging out for a couple of hours in the hallway on their cell phone. I mean,
Of course, we did that because we didn't want to have to transport them on the buses. That's the reason we made that decision. Now, when I was in Pocahontas County, at Pocahontas County High School, we had an ISS teacher who was also all ed. They kept them if they were suspended or expelled or whatever. And also they did the ISS at that school. So we did have that in our building there in a classroom.
It kind of defeats the purpose though, if you suspend a kid from school and they still ride the bus in with all the other students. And that's where we got into a lot of issues. Those kids that were expelled, they're getting on the bus and raising all kind of havoc and.
Because they're expelled anyway.
Right. They don't care.
Right.
And Kristen, I know what you're saying, but as a teacher, if I can't do my job because of a kid, they need to be out of my room and sometimes out of the building. And yeah, we're supposed to educate them, but some of that's on them too. And
yeah, I'm just trying to think of a way that we're not having to
A lot of overhead.
full building to do that.
See, Kristen has to look through a different lens than we do. I mean, and that's what makes this work, is because she provides perspective on finance and we have to provide perspective in other things. So I appreciate those comments. I mean, you have to look at all of it.
yeah, and I agree with you as far as, keeping a whole building just for that. That was one of the reasons we did away with having it over there and we moved it to here. And
You want to take a 5-minute break, go to the bathroom or something? while waiting
anybody
on the
need to
mayor?
go to the restroom or anything? We take a 5-minute recess?
Yeah, it's fine. That's fine.
Stretch your legs, nothing else.
Let's take a 5-minute recess and we'll reconvene here shortly.
It's a place that all the buses are going anywhere.
Well, we have a need for one of those people testing and all that. And so that's what I was saying. We discussed building that onto the bus.
Right.
But so maybe we could have the training room or a training facility just build one room there and have that to be an ANC as well.
Now, what are you talking about? Blake Creek or at the grade school or the high school?
That's a whole set of requirements for
Yeah.
buildings.
Yeah. But I mean, truly, as many research and things that our bus drivers have to do, they kind of need a.
You're talking about the new site at Blake Creek, not the,
Talking about if they put maintenance and transportation up there. and-
right. If you put it in that same, rather, not the old school though.
Right.
And it may be too expensive and
There's America.
it's because of that facility building.
Uh-huh.
But could you make that the ALC? No, the old bus garage. How much conversion? How much conversion? And it would still be on a campus, but a separate building.
The only,
But I don't know. That's just a shell building, so I don't know what you could do, what you couldn't.
yeah, actually, not looking about for education purposes, you may have to sprinkle it. I'm sure it's not sprinkled already. It may be sprinkled already. I have to look and see.
Hey, Robert, we're going to go into an executive session with you in just a minute. We got a couple things we want to discuss with you. We're just taking a 5-minute recess so everybody go to the bathroom and stuff.
So
I think Nick's going to be an asset.
What's
I
that?
think Nick's going to be an asset.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
So was,
He's a good kid.
did somebody expound that upon you? Or was that your idea?
No, that's fine. I thought about it just while you all were talking.
Good idea.
My mind's always working for a deal. I just try to make deals. I'm always looking.
Good idea.
And I don't get married into any deal. So
No, no.
when I present these things, I don't want y'all to think he wants to do that. I'm.
It's a good idea.
It's an idea.
He's got a sawmill
It does it.
and we got to talk about
Oh,
sawmills.
yeah. Now, is your son-in-law still doing sawmill
Oh, yeah.
stuff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're going to do it this weekend. I'm going to try it.
Good.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Did Jay Nowak that worked this morning?
is it work this morning?
Game last night.
Yeah, I saw him. I
I'm
said,
sure he was. He's
yeah,
pretty hardcore about it.
he was there with Rodney's son. Which one?
Little Rod. Yeah.
Yeah, Little Rod.
Yeah, Little Rob.
They
was
go
there.
up all the time.
Yeah, they asked me to go and I said, no way. I got an 8 o'clock.
Well,
How are you gonna find it?
I made it. It was good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chip took my ticket.
I didn't even see the West Virginia win.
Yeah. I felt.
Really good friend that gave.
I've been there before. Yes, I've been there.
This is, so this
Let's
is
kill
back against when you coming in from
I've always tried to do as best as we could out in the open to your.
and
Yeah.
so, like measure
We would do
When
the
you,
exact
when you go to
same.
executive session, if you let me
is three.
kind of introduce
Three.
Robert to the concept a little bit.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah,
you
yeah,
do
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Take the lead on.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just,
Absolutely.
Because he's going to get blindsided by this. Let me kind of soften it. Let me do my thing.
So, let's come out of recess.
This board right here.
We're gonna come out at recess at 11:12. And, so at this time, we need a, executive, session on property discussion. So do I have that motion?
I make that motion.
Mr. Barry makes a motion, seconded by,
Second.
second by Mr. Ferguson. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. At 11:12.
Field could be in a flood
Clay Creek?
area.
Oh, well, I can show you,
But,
you know, how our properties broke up and stuff. You can see Glen Creek too. If you've never been to,
Yeah, there's another 70 acres there at Clay Creek's not even, I mean,
yeah, if there's 180 in there, we're using 80.
a lot of it's the hillside behind it.
I know.
yeah, the mountain behind it, so it is, but it's property though.
Can we timber it? Get some money.
Yes, you could, but you're not supposed to be in a business. You'd
Well,
have to trade timber for something.
look. Might have to do a side.
They're in the, for their street.
If we,
Field
you'll have to
on
make a
the
decision whether you want to continue with turfing
right.
soccer field at the middle school.
And see,
I'll
they made like
I'll make it
a
bigger.
choice because they already paid part to get it ready.
So this is, the back lot is the playground and it's 5 acres. So this is the playground and kind of, I think that goes down a little bit into a gully behind there. It's all usable.
It does.
So, and this lot is the biggest part of the field down there, but it also is up the hill beside the senior center. And so these are just 2 small lots that go along with it. So, and this one is 3.5 acre lot with just a school and the parking, as you can tell, kind of in the front of the hillside there. And that little lot goes with it as well. So that's kind of the property that we own at Summersville Elementary.
The football field's the top lot.
This is the football.
Yeah.
field, yeah. It's broke up into 3 small lots.
Yeah.
Use the baseball field.
So that's what that looks like.
I thought their bank
Just
it
for
was
your
pretty decent.
information, I want to show you what, let me find the search again. Search.
Yeah, the problem is the school being torn down is going to be a cost. I mean,
Yeah, that's,
the property itself's worth something, but I get
I
the
think
other end of it.
told there was asbestos.
Even if we put it out there,
We're
that's
probably,
always going to be a liability.
we're probably not going to get that much because whoever buys it is going
And
to.
yeah, they're going to factor in, have to tear the building
Well,
down. So you might not get much money.
demolition over the years, the demolition costs have actually come down.
Well, like when I was in private, I tore down the Walmart building
Yeah.
and I got the Haney boys to do it for like 50 grand, you know?
Well,
But you can't do that in public and, you know, and it had, I think it has.
Well, in Pocahontas County, we had to tear down our old board office, which was an old high school. And we got a grant, had to pay for it to demolish it. Now, that takes time.
Right.
But there's.
Yeah, the demolishing cost itself isn't that much, but that asbestos removal.
Right, that's why we had to do it. Because $325,000 to
Wear
demolish.
those white suits in there and it cost you.
Well, he said it cost him $100,000 just for that gym floor.
the Glen Creek property.
For half
has
percent.
2 lots. And 2 lots happened, this was the first lot that was purchased. And then, we purchased that and we started all of our environmental studies. And then we realized we had to have more property for the rest. And then we also had to have this out here, which got environmental studies. We had, after we was told we had to have the second entrance, then we realized we had to acquire more property. Okay, so that's when we bought this property alone to begin with. And they said, hey, because they still thought they could develop this side and it was worth it. And we
Yeah,
said, "We have
Nichols
to have
County
it."
Building Commission owned it.
Yeah,
Right.
and then we said, well, we have to have a second. And then there was like, listen, this property up here is useless to us. You have to buy everything. So that's how we acquired so much property.
But that second purchase was at a good price,
It was a,
138.
I think it was this, they pretty much sold it for nothing, the trees and all that. And it was kind of funny whenever they did the price evaluation, like some acres was worth 40,000 an acre and then some was worth 3,000, even less, but
Sound like wood.
yeah,
Well, they had a debt against that and the price came out to about what the debt was.
yeah.
That was their goal.
Well, that was,
Get out of debt.
that was on the first lot where the park was.
Right.
Yeah, and so the debt was actually part of the problem because. the
We just basically paid the debt
Well,
on.
you
They
hear
worked
that?
out because it's only supposed to be used
Yeah.
for
Industrial park.
I was here.
It was in industrial park. Yeah, I was on the Nicholas County Building Commission.
Yeah, so that was part of our problem when we bought it.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So that's kind of what.
All I'm saying is they just wanted their debt, but I wasn't on the board at the time, but they wanted their debt taken care of. So if you took care of it in the first purchase, the second purchase shouldn't have been much money because that's
It
what,
wasn't.
they weren't looking, well, I don't know. They were looking to make some money, I guess, but it was mainly to get out there.
You,
So, but that's
No,
that's
yeah.
what our overview of our property looks like. And of course.
Well, that's what I think the mayor will need to annex, and he wants to annex the whole property. I see no reason not to.
So we didn't make-
What's the advantage to the city of annexing?
There's not really.
it'll just-
Well, future building fees, I guess they could yet. It really is to provide the police protection. And he's losing the Summersville Elementary out of the city. And Robert's kind of visionary and thinks about other ways and stuff too. He wanted to have a school inside. He didn't want Summersville to be a city without a school. Now, they got the high school, I guess, but he was losing Summersville Elementary
But other
in
than,
the city.
it really helps us out more than it does the city with having their,
Oh, yeah, it does. There's not a lot of advantage to the city, ain't you?
because I'm telling you, the sheriff's department's stretched.
Yeah.
And
Well, we pay no tax.
Well, the more you can partner with, I think you can have a good partner, but you never know what the next mayor's and stuff is.
Yeah.
It helps when you have a city that is financially healthy.
so Ray, we came out of executive session a few minutes ago. There were no,
Do we have a motion to-
No, we did
No,
not.
we didn't.
We did not.
Motion to come out of the executive
Oh.
session.
we're still,
Second.
okay, well, that's right, because he opened the door and we was waiting on Ray, but, okay.
Motion,
Mr. Moose and Mr. Ferguson seconded, and all in favor?
Aye.
At 11:46, and there were no decisions made.
You want the budget next?
Let's, yeah, so we don't kick Ray back out. Let's do budget next.
We'll let Kristen talk about our budget.
See, what our demo costs were,
Or what costs?
our demo costs.
Oh, demo costs.
From the old schools. Okay, well, just basically, Kelly had sent out an email before, with some estimates of how much our casting was off, how many people we were over formula, and about how much it was gonna cost. But I looked at our actual amounts of salaries that we paid last year, and then just kind of gave that just a 2% increase. I don't know if the legislature is gonna do an increase for teachers' pay. I would doubt it. I don't think that they're.
Haven't heard any discussion about trade pay raise.
So I just did that because everybody gets a step increase every year. I know that PEA is going to increase, but I don't even have PEI in these numbers at all. I don't have the expense or the revenue for PEI. So this is just salaries with just our regular FICA taxes and workers' comp. So no retirement, no insurance. Based on the professional salaries we paid last year compared to what we're actually going to be funded this year, unless, like I said, unless something changes with the legislature, these are preliminary allocations. We would be spending more than we are funded for professional people by $3.2 million.
Mm.
And for service, $1.1 million.
Oh, that's personnel, right?
It's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then also, for student support, which is nurses, counselors, social workers, they're in a separate step. That would be almost $100,000. Now, and like I said, we pay what we're funded is based on a 200-day contract. And so a lot of these people, we pay more. Counselors and social workers, they're 205-day, 210-day contracts. Nurses have extended contracts. So, I mean, that's part of the reason for the difference. That's part of the reason that we are spending so much more than what we're receiving. In substitute costs, that's going to be about an average based on what we spent last year for subs. We spent about $330 more than we were allocated for subs. On top of that, we pay about $400,000 in coaches' salaries. And that's not funded anywhere in the formula. We usually have to use, excess levy money helps with our coaches. So just based on, and the funding formula, funds us for other things. They fund us for transportation and some technology and things like that. But just salaries only, just looking at salaries, then the salaries that we would be expecting to pay next year compared to the actual revenue we were going to get for those salaries, it's about $5.5 million more that we would be paying for salary than we're actually funded for salary. So thank goodness we have the levy. And I'm not saying, there's a lot of things that play into that. We pay more, we pay a supplement for principals. We pay a supplement for a lot of different positions. And a lot of it is just that we pay for people to have a contract more than 200 days. That's a lot of it. We have a lot of people who are 260.
Do the board salaries, they come out of the county fund too, right?
Yeah, I don't think I don't have that.
They're not
So
a big expense.
That's not.
Those things.
teach me a little bit. We get state aid formula funding from the state of West Virginia based upon a 200-day contract. So all the ones that's in a 260-day contract or 261, that extra 61 days is coming out of our general revenue.
Right.
Yes. Anything like some principals are 210. Some of them are 240, anything over 200 days.
Days, we're-
And it doesn't matter if it's
that comes out of
service or,
and stuff like
it
that.
doesn't matter if it's service or professional.
Okay.
Do you know how many we have in the over 200 category?
Actually, I don't have that figured out. I can look into that, but everybody at the central office, 261 for the most part. Principals, I don't know, all principals are more than 200. Some are, might have a couple of 205, 210, the secondaries, the high schools are 240.
That's what people, but not all central office salaries comes out of.
Right, there are, we have some people who are
So like-
federally funded.
Federal, yeah.
Some
So,
comes out of, a technology fund that comes from the state, federal funds, and some of them are special funds.
So let me ask you this. So, someone is 261, if it's out of federal money, is their whole 261 taken care of? Now, it was and I might be wrong on this, but the superintendent's the only 261-day contract that's reimbursed by the state, right?
No, the superintendent is not reimbursed by the state.
It comes out of the county.
But it's not reimbursed any more than anybody else is.
I think it's the only one that's required to be a 261-day contract.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, yes, so that's,
They don't fund it.
okay.
No.
yeah,
Do
well,
they fund 200 days of it?
Yes and no.
Okay.
They'll fund his degree level plus his years of experience up to 200 days.
And then the contract between us is, but it's reimbursed, whatever contract that you negotiate.
So what I never did figure out is why they require you to have a treasurer,
if they don't fund it.
but they don't fund it.
Right.
We gotta have you, but
Right. And that's part of that is included in this $3.2 million that I'm saying that we are short on professionals. There's some positions like that are not even funded in the formula. So I'm saying there's the money, the revenue that we're getting from the state, and then there's what we actually spend, which includes
you and everything.
Right.
Yep. That you're going to be around $5 million short or 5.5 short. So
Right.
that's coaches' salaries, that's everything.
Right. And I'm not saying that we're $5 million worse off than we were
No,
last year or
no.
anything like that. I'm just saying if we're just looking at how much money we're funded for salaries and how much we're paying for salaries, that's the difference.
well, and so I guess, and I hate to start picking on people, but on these days, everybody that's over 200, have you looked at any of those? Can we cut any of those days? Because I know like the custodians, that you have to give them some extra days to get, so you have schools ready and so you can close schools. I understand all that. But is there any have you, and I know it doesn't save you a lot, and of course that hurts people's livelihood, and that's not what I'm after either, but we have to,
I guess my question would be along those lines is what would be some of it's gonna come out general, I get all that. Based upon us operating the schools like we are now, what's the recommendation of how many people we would have to cut to get where we can operate the
The
schools?
state tells us, I mean, we are, how many were over formula?
We are over right now, based on what their funding is for, based on our student enrollment.
Right.
We are 26 over in professional. And we were 23.76 over in service. However, we are going to be hiring, 10.2 is what they are allowing. I don't know how many we'll actually hire for. the
Third grade age, yeah.
So that would put us, if we take that into consideration, that would put us at 33.9 over in service. And historically, we have run, we have been over,
Yeah, we've been absorbing the over. Yeah, I understand.
Some,
But I have us right at 10, third grade.
okay, so that should be pretty good. We're gonna be funded for about 10, we're gonna hire about 10, so that ECAT, that should help. But yeah, we're looking at, yeah. a lot of-
What will be, I'm sure you and Kelly looked at it and Terrence or whatever, kind of, that's what we're over, what the state says. What's going to be your recommendation of how we structure this? I mean, how many are you think we're going to end up netting?
I'm looking at possibly, could be as high as 18 teachers. But
out of those 18, how many are retirements or moving on or whatever? How many? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
5 of them are from retirements. An additional one is from a person that is going to be moving next year that we're holding this year that we can do that position in another way. So that's 6. One is a long-term sub, that is 7. So 7 of those.
Through attrition or
Right.
whatever. Yeah.
So that's professional.
Professional.
How many service are we looking at cutting?
And most of this is due to decline of enrollment, which is mostly due to
Hope Scholarship.
Hope Scholarship and home school, right?
Well, if you look at last year's compared to this year's allocations from the state, we're getting funded less in FY '26 than we were in FY '25, which wouldn't be what you would think would happen because we're going to have step increases in salaries and we're adding those third grade ECATs.
Lost a bunch of
But
kids.
we've lost so much enrollment that, yeah, we're getting less money this year than we got last year.
And so, when I sent that email the other day about, these folks that homeschool and have Hope Scholarship and all that, and yet they want to come back and play sports and participate. That's why I sent that email. We've got to be ready to recoup any dollar we can.
It's on the May 6th, March 6th. agenda
Right.
as well.
Did you get service?
7.
7 service.
Yeah, I don't understand why the
Services.
state wants to undermine public education to put it in
18 is 20.
private education.
They do.
A little bit more.
That's what they're doing.
And you may, it's 7 positions, but some of those positions aren't full-time.
I got you.
So there may be more total people, but it's 7 total positions.
In other words,
It could be more.
could be a half-time and a half-time, which I'm with you.
Could be two people, one position.
Right, so it could affect more than 7.
Yes,
Yes.
Um,
but that, I mean, you know, that really barely cuts into,
By the time we lose students next year, we're right back to the same boat.
So if you did that,
Cuts.
and I'm not saying, and I know there still has to be a lot of planning, but let's say you did 18 professionals, 7, however that worked out. How much money does that save compared to the 5.5 million we're short?
Well, I have to look at that. And Kelly had sent out some information in December. I think the chief has too. She's saying that, the 22 teachers that we were over could cost at an average salary, $1.8 million. So she's saying that we'd be able to cut 18 of those positions, then, we're looking at, maybe $1.5 million there. And then, the services an average of like $30,000 for a service person, and that's without fixed charges. So, if you're looking at
27.
yeah,
210,000.
right.
Yeah.
Right, and like I said, that we get, an allocation for, fixed charges on those, and then they'll also give us an allocation for PEIA. But I don't know what those are yet.
So even if you did that, we could still be looking at a substantial budget
Oh, yeah.
deficit. $3 million or so.
okay, Chris, your TIS, how are they funded?
All of technology is not funded I take no money out of county budget.
Okay,
So it's either funded by the excess levy or by, Tools for Schools
Step
funds or
7D.
step 7B.
so basically, even if you cut one of them, you're not,
Yeah, like
Right.
if you take anything from technology, I mean, I just.
It doesn't-
and I'm just
Yeah.
looking at everything,
I just lost Nicole to payroll.
right?
That did not add any money back to the county coffer.
Yeah, his technology is funded under step 7. And so I
Okay,
didn't
that's-
talk about step 7.
Yeah.
I'm just talking
and
about
I wasn't picking on your department, you're just sitting here, so,
Right.
I'm trying to understand.
so, yeah.
I mean, kind of my point earlier is like, I think some of those numbers that you see that's funded above the formula, are they funded? They're funded by other departments, but it's just not covered by the formula. Am I wrong in that? Like all of
No,
our
this is-
salaries?
This is, no, this
That's
is
totally
strictly
formula?
state formula
Yeah,
money.
okay, so then my salary is not counted in that
No.
dollar amount, right?
Yeah, so if
whatever
we,
programs wouldn't be,
so if I said, well, let's get rid of the technology director, which I wouldn't, but if I said that, that's not gonna help us.
right,
This-
if you would, just depends on where the director's paid from, even cutting their days would
Right.
help the county funds any.
Right, right.
And,
Just like Dr. Lee's position, it's federally funded, so,
and did you
Now.
also around 7,000 a student? That's what I count. 7,000 students, what we lose for every student.
$30,000.
It's about 8
Yeah.
for every student.
Central office positions are federal or partially federally funded. So yeah, that is not even considered.
It's scary to see what they
what
think.
blows my mind on this whole deal is the legislature, they're doing everything they can against public schools. But they have all the regulations on us. And they want us to be accountable for the money they're spending. But then they turn around and they give it to Hope Scholarship and there's no regulation. And they can spend it any way they want to. And, I'm not saying all of it. There are some that are using it and educating. I know that. But there's a lot that aren't, and the kids aren't going to get an education. In a few years, we are going to be in a big mess. We're in a mess now. You wait.
Yes, up to fail. I mean,
Yeah.
they're
They're undermining public education.
And then it's going to say, well, you didn't go to public school, On the other hand, a lot of these kids we're losing are the ones that are the troublemakers or won't come to school. And so hopefully our test scores will get better and, we'll have kids that want to learn and, I hate to say that, but some of it's on the kids.
So losing a lot of them to online schools that get to graduate quicker too. So I don't think the majority of our students are leaving are just the bad ones. I think we're
Yes.
losing just as many good ones as we are bad ones.
Well,
high schools, juniors.
We're down to about 3,200 students, somewhere around there.
Do
Do you have, and I know this isn't, I would assume it's not Christian's numbers. I always hate to say it, and I assume. If you lost, are we going to project 5%? If you lost 5%, that's another $1.8 million.
Yeah.
If you lose, if it reduces another 150 students, is it 2%, 3%? We know it's going to go down.
Yeah, I mean,
We know it's going, number one, you got population problems, you got industry problems, you got job problems. Then when you throw on the fact that you got competition now with the state of West Virginia with the Hope Scholarships, you know it's going to go down. I don't know what
They're
percentage.
not in the classroom and they're not off of one bus.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's what's killing us.
That 25, like you said, 25 students, that's a formula for one teacher, and that doesn't work. Yeah.
so we
know
can
what you
already
do.
see-
That's where you have to consolidate.
Yeah, that's where you consolidate and classes and all that stuff. Yeah.
You can already see like now minus the difference between a class leaving and a class coming in, Richwood High School, just because we did those numbers this morning.
Right.
It had 330 on second month, already down to 293. That's
And that's just one school.
that's one school. But like I said, we'll have to look at the size class leaving and size class coming in.
And they take those numbers in October. Is that right?
October
That's when
2nd.
we're going to
Well, somebody told me like there was a class at Summersville Middle School this year, like there was 150 in it. And next year there's only going to be 120. That's a whole class.
The incoming, it's not just for them, the incoming sixth grade, the current fifth grade is 83 students less than the current sixth grade.
Yeah, I can see that actually, because I know that fifth grade class and their numbers are down.
Fifth grade.
Oh,
That's two teachers.
Fourth grade looks good, but even
Right.
second and third are way down, if I remember.
kindergarten
Yeah, that's two
is-
teachers.
On
I mean,
second month report.
But
I hate
This
that.
year we're graduating.
But you can't keep those and say, well, you're going to have 10 kids this year.
This year's kindergarten class only has 180 in the whole county.
yes. That's
And,
that less than what Nicholas County graduated last year.
Yes.
And that's if you get them all or keep them all.
That's if you retain them. So that's still a scary part is I hope that's not a trend. I hope that's an anomaly of one small year, one small class. But, the trend that I'm seeing come forward from grade schools is we're going to see Richwood High School graduating classes of 60 to low 70 kids. That's
It's all we graduated in Pocahontas with 60-some kids.
That's what we are going to start looking for in the future is you're graduating 60 kids from Richwood High School for the next several years.
on another note, when your population goes down like that, and Mr. Berry, I hate to say this, but that's when you start losing your arts and your
Yeah.
music
Yeah.
because you can't afford to, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you're gonna, that's now.
I know. And then they say, well, you all don't have this and you don't have that. Well, we don't have enough kids to have this and that.
Well, it's like I was talking to them last night. They're gonna combine a health teacher and an art teacher. Same person teaching both up here at the high school next year probably. And Richwood will do the same. They'll just have a split teacher there. So it's already happening.
This year's fifth grade class total only has 186 kids in it, the whole county. So, and this year, our senior class for, we're graduating 175 from Nicholas County High School and 79 from Richwood. Next year, the 11th grade class goes down to 72 and then the 10th grade class goes down to 61.
And obviously we looked at closing Birch River and Zila. We kept them open for couple of reasons. But, year after next or something, we're going to look at that again and it's going to be some tough decisions.
Yeah, well, it'll be a double-edged sword because some of those decisions that we kept open, some of those parents' reasons were valid as far as that busing time. And they'll go to homeschool, hope, whatever. I mean, you'll lose it's a
you'll lose.
double-edged sword
Right.
when you have to do
Yeah.
that. I mean, it'll probably put pressure on you to,
Zila, we had 40 some kids and then we retained about 20 of those.
when we close one.
Dixie, I'm sorry.
Dixie.
Dixie, when we closed Dixie, it was like 47 kids. And I think about 20 of those went to Zila.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had kids going there from Fayette and Clay County.
Well, and just like Birch,
Yeah.
no, I know.
Everybody's facing this. All the counties are facing this.
You take
State
some,
doesn't see it.
like Birch, some of those kids may choose to go to Little Birch.
Sure they will.
And I understand, but they have to understand from our point that we can't keep losing money, that we're gonna be bankrupt.
We'll be in there anyway.
Yeah, our average class for several years, right now is, like, the whole county is 250 kids, is the average. And it stays that way until about, fifth grade goes down to 186. And then it starts dropping off, 240, 220 something, 220 something, 216. The trend is not increasing for
There's no-
foreseeable future.
And
We don't
it's not
see
just
that
one,
That is gonna go the other way.
it's not just one area, it's all over the whole county. Do you have any other better news on the budget?
No.
On the budget, no, but
We're finished.
pretty dang.
We're finished with you. Do we really need her? Get rid of, no, I'm just
We're
kidding.
gonna go in personnel.
Yeah, we're going to do executive session on personnel next, I think. Talk about coach.
All right, so if seriously, you're done with everything you need to say?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's enough.
Well, I think the bottom line is you guys are doing a good job. Just need to continue to do the figures. And you're gonna have to come up with an operational plan based upon the information you have to the board of how you're gonna operate it.
well, and that's what, we was talking about that property a while ago. So, we don't need a bunch of property that we have to maintain,
No.
even if it's just cutting the grass. But, you can't leave these buildings unheated and all that. We don't have much choice. And then another thing, the legislature's trying to force county boards to make those buildings available to charter schools. And,
You just step on your own foot.
yeah, and they're killing us now. I mean, why? But anyway,
Trying their best.
Charter schools don't have to have certified teachers, right?
No.
They do not.
Do they have to, and they don't have to test
no.
like public school.
Who like that?
And there's nobody over their curriculum. And so if they want all that, then why don't they just take the regulations off us and let us run our school system?
Well, as a fair competitive level playing field, they should, because what you're gonna have, you're gonna have some good ones, but you're gonna have awful lot of them that's in profit, and they're gonna be online out of state, no high, coming in there and taking our state money. Basically, what's gonna happen. I mean, I don't know what percentage, but it's gonna
They're
happen.
doing it now.
All the regulations that,
In Foster.
I mean, like, our central office staff. Yeah, we have all these rules to follow. We need these people to make sure that we are.
Yeah, they mandate that you have personnel to do it. They don't give you the money to pay for it.
They don't have any rules. I mean, as far as I can,
They don't have to accept everybody's thing. They don't have to provide transportation. They don't have to have special education minutes. They don't have to honor any of that.
So what you're saying to me is we should vote to do away with the Nicholas County public school system and become a private school system.
They don't have to have,
Money, no rules, no regs.
they'll rely on
Just
the
run it as a,
public education.
running under their rules.
students.
That'd make the paper, wouldn't it?
Well,
We do have to go to personnel.
let's have a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel.
That'll be our last topic, right?
And that's our last topic.
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Mr. Ferguson makes a motion for
Second.
executive session for personnel, seconded by Mr. Berry. All in favor? Aye. At 12:14.